It's the final game on the line, extra time, and Ramos sends it out to Chocobares, who sends it to Lebel, and he runs it straight at the camera. Look at that. Rugby. There we go. 2 Euro-African finals done for another year. One a bit of a walkover and one with zebras. The Friday night game saw South Africa's first Euro finalist, the Sharks, take on Gloucester at Tottenham Stadium in, I think, North London. The Sharks went into this game with 7 current full-fat, no-bullshit world champion Springboks and a peppering of some single cappers here and there. They were up against some guys from the West Midlands. And I mean the Sharks were up against it. For the first 15 minutes, Gloucester were hammering the Sharks line, making them give away multiple penalties and eventually a yellow card. But even with Fussy off the field, the Sharks hung on and got themselves out of trouble. How? How have Safa sides been getting out of trouble against the English since 2019? By teaching them over and over and over again. No scrum, no win. The front row of Vincent, Bongi and Ox, backed up by Earburn, put Gloucester's Jamal, Seb and Fraser under a blowtorch. With them retreating at a rate of knots, Reynal was all but too happy to award the more infamous front row plenty of penalties. And the Sharks rode that whistle all around the field, building up a nice 29-3 lead by 55 minutes. They took their foot off the gas at around 60 minutes, and Gloucester got to show some of that strike power that got them into the final. They scored a few long-range tries near the end, but the mountain was already too high to get over. The Sharks' physical dominance on the gain line and that scrum was too much to handle. A classic South African team performance then, with a 22-36 win and, crucially, qualification for next year's Champions Cup. Congrats to the Sharks. Now please do not ruin the Bulls' URC chances this coming weekend. On Saturday we had the biggest club game in the world, with an afternoon kickoff. Toulouse took on Leinster in the same stadium as the final the night before, only it was considerably fuller, much sunnier and a lot noisier. I was noisy too, because I was getting to see Gibson Park versus DuPont, and Sheehan versus Malvaka, and Ntamak versus whichever Burn showed up. In fact, both lineups kind of made this a full-blown test match. The intensity, skill and pace was definitely at that level throughout. Toulouse started faster, with DuPont getting tackled out just in time by Gibson Park to prevent a try being scored. But then the French side got put under pressure for large parts of the match by Leinster's high phase count game plan. The stats show that Leinster had more possession, more territory, carried the ball more and had more defenders beaten. But crucially, they had 19 turnovers at rucks or mauls. That is a devastating stat that will stop any attack in its tracks. Toulouse had to take the fewer chances that they got, and they always took the 3 when it was on offer. And still, it wasn't enough over the 80 minutes and the teams had to go into extra time. Very exciting. Again, Toulouse started faster, and this time they did manage to score only 2 minutes into extra time. Leinster scored through Van der Flier later in extra time, but their discipline at the ruck had left them with too big of a score gap to make up. It all ended after 100 minutes of incredible rugby, with Toulouse ahead by 33 points to 21, giving them their 6th title and Leinster their 3rd silver in a row. An outcome more triggering to me than hearing Art Garfunkel bellowing "Bright Eyes." Congrats to Toulouse and the Sharks for winning their titles. The playoffs of both these competitions were interesting at least, and hopefully with a few tweaks, the entirety of both competitions could be interesting in the future. And now the English Prem can get back to their semi-finals. The ERC and Super Rugby Pacific can get back to their final rounds, and the top 14 can carry on grinding out the remaining 1,000 games they have left for the season. But then who will think of the news? On my laptop it says only one big news item for me this week. As was rumored earlier in the year, the Rapport is reporting that the All Blacks and Springboks are nearing an agreement for a return to proper old-school rugby tours. The plan is for the All Blacks to come to South Africa in 2026 and play 3 big test matches. There will also be a bunch of midweek games between the Bulls, Sharks, Lions and Stormers, and even a South Africa A game thrown in for good measure. The Springboks will then do a return tour in 2030, playing 3 games against the All Blacks, a whole bunch of games against the Super Rugby teams, and then something against the Maori All Blacks as well. But Dad, how will this fit in with the Rugby Championship? It won't, my child. In touring years, the Wallabies and Los Pumas will have to take up Hikaru Dango or play each other or plan something else. That also means that out of every 4-year cycle, there will be 2 full rugby championships, 1 truncated for the World Cup and 1 year with no championship at all. I don't feel like I like this. Let me tell you the reasons. Firstly, it feels like a bit of an admission that the Rugby Championship is not as cool as we all like to think it is. Feels like it's all good and well to have Sanzar, but it's really only the Sans part that we all care about. Secondly, this is yet more tests against the All Blacks. In the last 3 years, we have played each other 7 times, and by the end of this year, that'll be 9. At what point are we sliding into the whole Big 3 issue that cricket has? And finally, what about Los Pumas and the Wallabies? Won't this take away some of their revenue every few years, meaning they have less money for development, meaning they get hammered more often by the Boks in the ABs, meaning that they get even less revenue, and so on and so forth? Facts are good and nice, but I do enjoy feelings, and this all just feels a little wrong. But there are plenty things that do feel right though. It'll be like Lions tours, except with all the traveling fans, probably. That means narratives, injury crises, possible documentaries, and maybe even Rassie referee videos? We might see some stars rise up out of the midweek games, which we could even attend, and then obviously the Springboks versus All Black games themselves. And finally, the most important and primary reason these tours exist. Lots and lots of money for both these unions. Now they just need to fit all this in with Lions tours and Nations Cups and Club World Cups and autumn tours and summer tours and off seasons, hopefully, for some of the players. Then we'll all be golden. No other major news really, which is good. We can focus on the URC and the SRP and the EP and the TOP14 and the SRA and the MLR and whatever other perverse little things you like to follow. Join me next week so we can talk about the Lions getting 5 points in Cape Town. Sorry, Harry, you're going down. Bye.